Hi everybody, I'm Bonnie Barker at watch.bonniebabecrochet.com, and today I'm really excited to share with you Bonnie's Aran cabled Christmas tree skirt. It's a big long name, but it's for a project that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and let me show you a picture of it right here. Well, let me show you what you're going to need for this project.
For this project, I'm going to be using Paintbox Yarns Simply Chunky. Please take note that this is a chunky weight. This is not a worsted weight yarn. Each of these skeins has 100 grams or 3.5 ounces, 136 meters or 149 yards, 100% acrylic, and it is, again, a number 5 bulky weight yarn. And the number of skeins that you're going to need for this project are listed right across the bottom. For this project, I'm going to recommend that you have 2 size crochet hooks. The main hook you're going to be using is the size K or 10.5 or 6.50 millimeter. And you're going to also need one smaller size than your gauge hook, or in my case, size J or 10 or 6.00 millimeter crochet hook. And I'm also recommending that you have a yarn needle as well as a pair of sharp scissors handy. And also for finishing, you have the option of finishing with buttons, and I'm going to be adding 4 buttons that look like this. Of course, you can add any style buttons you would like to your finished product. We're going to start with our slip knot, and we are going to work 26 chains. After working those 26 chains, we're going to begin by working a double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, and we are going to work a double crochet in each chain all the way across the row. After completing those 24 double crochets, that does not include the chain 2 at the beginning, we're going to go ahead and turn and begin row number 2. We're going to chain 2, we're going to skip the first stitch, and in the next 3 stitches we're going to work front post double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to work a half double crochet through the top loops of that next stitch. We're going to do this all the way across the row. So I'll do 1 more of these. So 3 more front post double crochets. And then a half double crochet worked in the top loops of the next stitch. So go ahead and repeat that all the way across the row. After working that all the way across, that last chain space, we're going to work that last half double crochet. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we have here. We're working the foundation rows now for this Saxon cable. Okay, now we're going to turn, chain 2, 1, 2, and now we are going to work 3, starting in the 2nd stitch. We're not going to work in that first stitch of the row. We're going to work 3 back post double crochets, 1 in each of those post stitches that we worked from the previous row, and then work a half double crochet in the half double crochet, working through the top loops. And that is going to be the repeat all the way across. 3 back post double crochets, 1 in each of the next 3 stitches, and then a half double crochet worked in the top loops. So go ahead and work that across the row. At the end of the row, work that last half double crochet in the chain 2 turning chain. Now we're ready to begin row 4, but before we do, let me explain what we're going to do. We have 6 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that are going to be crossed at various times For this next row, which is row 4, we're going to cross these 2 columns with a front cross, and I'll show you what that means once we get to that point. But before we get to those 2 to cross, we are going to work, or first skip this stitch, front post double crochet over the next 3 stitches, half double crochet in that next stitch, and we're going to do that one more time. Front post double crochet over the next 3 stitches, and then half double crochet in the next stitch. So we've done 2 groupings or 2 columns of those stitches. Now we are ready to do a front cross, and this is the way we do these. We skip the next 3 stitches. We're going to work a half double crochet in that next half double crochet. We're going to work 3 front post treble crochets, 1 over each of the next stitches. So we're only going to use the front post trebles when we're crossing the cables. Okay, after working those, now working in front of the last 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches, we're going to front post treble in this stitch, then this stitch, and then this stitch. It's a big reach, so when you come to do this, it's going to feel like you're reaching across the room. It's not going to be real close, but this is correct, and you'll see in a few minutes. That's the second treble, and this is the third. Okay, after that, we're going to work a half double in the next space. Let's just pause to take a look at what this crossing looks like. It looks just like that. Okay, now we're going to finish out the row with front post double crochets in the next 3 stitches, half double in that next stitch, and then 3 more front post double crochets, and then a half double in that last stitch, and that's what you should have after 4 rows. Okay, now we're going to turn, and to begin row 5, we are going to chain 2, 1, 2. We're going to work, first of all, skip this stitch at the edge. We're going to work 3 back post double crochets, half double in that half double crochet, and then 3 more back post double crochets, 1, 2, 3, half double in that next half double crochet, and now we're working over the parts that were crossed, and we're simply going to do 3 more back post double crochets, 1, 2, 3. Now in the center where these cables were crossed, we're going to work a half double in between that last stitch and the next stitch, and then 3 more back post double crochets. You're going to have to hunt for these because these are the ones that were crossed behind. And 3. Now we did add a half double crochet in the center, and for the mathematicians out there who think, oh no, the stitch count has just changed, it's going to remain the same because we are skipping this half double from the previous row and then working in the next half double only, thereby keeping our stitch count right on target. It's not going to change a bit. Okay, so now we're going to back post double crochet the next 3 stitches, half double in the next stitch, and again 3 more back post doubles. And a half double in that turning chain. Let's go ahead and turn and see what we have. This is what you should have after 5 rows. Now we're ready to start row number 6. We're going to chain 2, and let me give you a preview of what's to come for this one. We're going to take the column here that's underneath this was crossed over. This column and this column are going to cross in a back cross, where after you crochet these, you're going to crochet behind these, and I'll show you that in a minute. And this column is also going to cross in a back cross. And then these will just be front post double crochets here and here. So let's go ahead and work this. We start out by skipping this stitch, front post double, and the next 3 stitches, half double that next stitch. And now this is where we do the back cross. We're going to skip the next 3 stitches, half double in that next stitch. We're going to front post treble crochet in the next 3 stitches, now working behind the last 4 stitches, we are going to front post treble in these 3 stitches. And the way we do this is we prepare our hook with those wraps and come into the hole in the back, and we front post treble over those 3 stitches, coming in through the hole here, and we select the next stitch here, and you can even pull this back if you'd like, and then we form that front post treble, and then one more time in through here, bring that next stitch, which is right there. This is the trickiest part of this project, is just working these back crosses, but once you do a couple of them, I think you'll be fine. Okay, so now we do a half double in the next stitch. I guess all I got to say about the back crosses is don't be intimidated by them. You know, it may take you a few tries to get them just right. It certainly did me, but you know, it's worth the time practicing and getting that right. And I think once you understand how these are formed, the rest will come pretty easily. Especially if you're an experienced crocheter and you understand your basic crochet stitches. Okay, so now for another back cross, we're going to skip the next 3 stitches, half double crochet in that next stitch, front post treble crochet in the next 3 stitches, working behind these 4 stitches. We're going to come into the opening here, and we're going to work our front post treble crochets. That's 1. Let's bring some more yarn up here, and we're going to do that again. Coming in, we're going to work around this next stitch, and I am using the nerve endings in my tall man and thumbkin here, and I identify the stitch as much with my fingers as I am with visuals. And let's come in again, and this is the 3rd stitch right here. Okay, and half double in that next half double, and then front post double crochet in the next 3 stitches. So make sure you're using double crochets, front post doubles on these that are not being crossed, but whenever you cross the stitches, we're working front post treble crochets, the longer stitch. Okay, half double in that turning chain, and let's take a look at what we have. Okay, it is starting to come together. So now let's turn. So now to begin row 7, we're going to chain 2, and you guessed it, back post double crochets in the next 3 stitches. And whenever you have a half double crochet, for the most part, we're going to work a half double crochet in the top loops. Now working with the stitches that have just been crossed, we're going to, again, 3 back post double crochets, and then a half double crochet where these were crossed in between the last stitch and the next stitch, and then 3 more on the back side there, 3 more back post double crochets, 1, 2, 3. If you forget these, you will realize it when you get to the following row. Okay, now we're going to skip this half double crochet back here, and we're going to work in the next half double crochet, thereby keeping our stitch count the same. And we're going to do that again. 3 back post double crochets, 1 over each of the next 3 stitches, half double in between that last stitch and the next stitch. This, again, is the center of where these were crossed, and then 3 more back post double crochets. And once again, we're going to skip the next half double, which you really have a hard time seeing anyway, but it is right here. And then we're going to work in the top of the next half double crochet and finish out the row with 3 back post double crochets and a half double worked in that turning chain. And this is what we have after finishing row 7. Now going on to row number 8, chain 2, and let me go ahead and tell you what we're going to do before we actually do it. These 2 columns are going to be worked together in a front cross. The column which was underneath here, and this one will also be crossed in a front cross, and this one and this one are also going to be crossed in a front cross. We have 3 of these cable crossings on row number 8. Okay, we start out by skipping the first stitch and the next 3 stitches, half double and the next half double. After that half double, we work front post treble crochets in each of the next 3 stitches. Working in front of the last 4 stitches, we're going to front post treble into 3 stitches that we just skipped. That's 1, and 2, and 3. Half double in that next half double crochet. You may have to pull this fabric back a bit to find that next stitch, but do be sure that you find the correct stitch there. It's just the next half double crochet. And then we're going to do another front cross. We're going to skip the 3 stitches here, half double and that next half double, front post treble in the next 3 stitches, and again, working in front of those last 4 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 3 stitches we skipped, and they are hidden a bit. They were right down in here. That's 1, 2, and 3. So after completing those 3 stitches, those 3 front post trebles, we're going to find the next half double, which is right over here, work a half double right there, skip the next 3 stitches, half double that next stitch, and once again front post treble crochet in the next 3 stitches, now working in front of the last 4 stitches, we're going to front post treble in each of these 3 stitches And these again are hidden behind, they're kind of woven into the work, so you need to make sure that you can find where these are. And the third stitch is right there. And then we're going to half double in that chain 2 space, the turning chain. Let's take a look. And this is what you should have at the end of row 8. Now for row 9, we're going to turn, chain 2, and just like we worked behind these cross stitches, I'll work the first one for you, but you're going to work all 3 of them in the same manner. We're going to work back post double crochets over the next 3 stitches. That's 2 and 3, and then half double in between where those cables were crossed, in between the last and the next stitch, and then 3 more back post double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Skip the next half double and then half double in that next stitch. We're going to do that 2 more times across the row, working that last half double in the chain 2 turning chain. So go ahead and finish row 9. Just to try to be thorough, I just wanted to show you where that chain is going to be at the end. It's not up here, but it's actually right here when we work that last half double crochet at the end of the row. Let's go ahead and turn, and this is what your piece should look like after 9 rows. Now we're ready to begin row 10, which is actually a repeat of the row here where you had the 2 back crossings. So let's go ahead and work row 10, the chain 2, and we're going to front post double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. Remember always to skip that first stitch at the beginning of the row. Half double in that next stitch. Okay, now we're going to be working a back cross over the next 2 columns, which are here and here. We're going to skip the next 3 stitches, half double in that next half double. We're going to front post treble crochet in the next 3 stitches. Working behind these last 4 stitches, we come into this hole and we work front post treble over the 3 post stitches that we skipped. 1, and we're going to do this one next. 2, and coming into the hole right here. 3, half double in that next half double. Skip the next 3 stitches, half double in that next stitch. I'm going to do that one again. I didn't like the way that loop was so large. Let's try that again. Much better. Front post treble in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. Now working behind these last 4 stitches, come into the hole again, and we're going to work 1, 2, 3 on these front post trebles, and again using my thumb and my fingers there to help me to find where these stitches are. Coming in again, identify it with the thumb and with tall man on the back side, so I know exactly what I'm doing. I can feel it more than I can see it. Okay, and then so I come in, and this is the 3rd. I can pull it up here so I can get a good grip on that. Okay, and after that we do a half double and the half double, and then 3 front post double crochet, returning to those double front post double crochets. Let's try that one again. Make sure I get all of the strands through. There we go. And a half double in that turning chain. And let's take a look what that looks like. Okay, you can see it come together. Chain 2, this is for row 11. We are going to work those back post double crochets, those next 3 stitches, and pretty much do this all the way across. Half double in that next half double. Just be sure that when you work across these stitches that have been crossed, that you work that half double in between the last stitch and the next stitch. So 3 more back post double crochets, half double in between the last stitch and the next stitch, which again is in between where these were crossed, and then 3 more back post double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then again skip this half double, work in the next half double. So go ahead and repeat that again. Half double, 3 back post double crochets, and then a half double in the chain 2 as you finish out row 11. Now we're ready to start row 12, but before we begin, let me tell you what we're going to do. We're going to work front post double crochets over these stitches, half double front post double crochets over these, and the 2 middle columns, which one is here and one is here, we're going to work a front cross, and then over the remaining columns here and here we're going to work the front post double crochets. So let's go ahead and start with a chain 2. I already have 1 chain. Let's make that a chain 2, and 3 front post double crochets, half double and the next half double, and then another 3 front post double crochets, and now we work another half double in the top loops of that half double crochet. Skip the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, half double in that next stitch, and now we're going to work 3 front post treble crochets. Make sure we switch from double to treble here for when we cross the stitches or cross the cables. And working in front of those last 4 stitches, we're going to front post treble into 3 stitches that we just skipped. This is the first. 1, 2, and let's get our third one there, 3, and then a half double in that next half double crochet. Might be hiding behind these trebles that you just made, but it is there. After that, we just do front post double crochets over the next 3 stitches. Half double crochet, and after that we're going to do 3 more front post double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, half double in that half double. Let's take a look at what we have. So we should have the diamond portion of this completed here with the interwoven stitches. Okay, so that is after 12 rows. Let's go on to row number 13. We're going to turn, chain 2, and we're going to work back post double crochets over those next 3 stitches, and then a half double crochet in that next half double crochet. We're going to do this all the way across, although after those 3 back post double, half double, then we come to the part that's crossed. We do 3 back post doubles, half double in between where the cables are crossed, and then 3 more back post doubles, skip this half double here, and then you know the rest. 3 back post double crochets, half double, 3 back post double crochets, and a half double in that turning chain. So go ahead and finish row number 13. Now to begin row 14, we're going to chain 2, and we are simply going to work 3 front post double crochets in each of the next 3 stitches, half double crochet in that next half double crochet, and that is the repeat all the way across this row, making sure that you get those half double crochets where they belong, and then a half double crochet at the end of the row in the turning chain. For row number 15, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to work 3 back post double crochets starting in that next stitch. 1, 2, 3, and then a half double crochet in the half double crochet, and that's going to be your repeat all the way across the row, working that last half double crochet in the chain 2 turning chain. Now for the next 2 rows, that would be rows 16 and 17, we're simply going to repeat the last 2 rows that we worked, and I'm just going to talk you through those. We're going to chain 2, we're going to work front post double crochets and half double crochet in the half double crochets, work that all the way across, half double crochet in the chain 2 turning space at the end of the row, then we're going to turn, chain 2, and then we're going to work 3 back post double crochets and then a half double crochet, and that will be the repeat all the way across that row, and then make sure you work a half double in the chain 2 at the end of the row. So go ahead and work the next 2 rows. So this is what you should have after completing those first 17 rows. Now I have a large assignment for you. I want you to repeat rows 4, which starts with the front cross down here, rows 4 through 17, a total of 13 times, and then after you do that, you're going to repeat rows 4 through 15, which is just 2 rows shy of this repeat. So rows 4 through 15 1 time. Okay, so one more time, I'll repeat that. Rows 4, which starts with the front cross here, rows 4 through 17 13 times, and then repeat rows 4 through 15 once more. After working all of those repeats, you should have a piece that is rather long. Mine is measuring approximately 106 inches long by 6 inches wide, and I have 15 of these diamond areas. Okay, so now we are going to begin the process of turning this long piece into a round piece, and in order to do that, we're going to work decreases on one side and many increases on the opposite side. So first of all, let's go ahead and chain 1, and we are going to work single crochets working through the top loops, starting with that very first stitch, that half double crochet, and work 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way across. After working all the way across, make sure you work an additional single crochet in that chain 2 turning space, chain 2. Now we're going to be working along the row ends, and this is the part that we are going to work increases over. This is going to be the outer side of the circle. Okay, go ahead and work an additional 2 stitches in that first row end, and then 3 in the next. And we're going to do that repeat all the way down those 106 inches of this. So 2 single crochets in the next row end, and then 3 in the next row end. 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then 3. 1, 2, 3. So go ahead and work that all the way to the corner at the other end. After working all the way across, I ended this by working 2 single crochets in that last row end from the last corner to this corner along the outer side of this project. I have 527 stitches or single crochets. Now Now there is a little bit of flexibility. If your number is off by a few stitches, I wouldn't worry about it. I believe the project will not be compromised. And there are ways around that. But anyway, so the stitch count is regardless 527 stitches. So now we're going to turn and we're going to work the second row. I'm going to call this row 2 of the outer band. Okay, we're going to chain 2 and we're going to work what I like to call the wattle stitch. And we're going to start that in the first stitch. We're going to work a single crochet, chain 1, and then a double crochet worked in that same stitch. Skip the next 2 stitches, and in the next stitch work a single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. We're going to do this all the way across. Skip 2, single crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. So go ahead and work that all the way across. I've worked this all the way across. I'm going to work the last couple of stitches with you. Skip the next 2 rather. Single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and I just have 1 stitch and the chain 2 left. Now if you have an extra stitch here, that's not a problem. Just go ahead and do the same thing that I'm doing. Just make a single crochet in that chain 2 space. Now we're going to chain 2 and turn, and working only in the chain 1 spaces of each of these wattle stitches, we're going to work a wattle stitch. Single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And you find the next chain 1 space, and we work a single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. And we're going to do that all the way across the row. Find the next space, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, worked all in that chain 1 space, just like that. After working those wattle stitches across row 3, we're just going to end with working a single crochet in the chain 2 space. Okay, this is what you should have at the end of row number 3. And you should have approximately 176 of the wattle stitches. Okay, now we're going to return to working in single crochets only in this row. So we're going to chain 1, work a single crochet in that first stitch. We're going to skip the double crochet of the wattle stitch, and working only in the chain 1, we're going to work 2 single crochets in that first chain 1 space, and then a single crochet in that next single crochet of the wattle stitch. So we're essentially taking each wattle stitch and returning it to 3 single crochets, and I'll do that for you a couple more times. Skip the double crochet, go to the chain 1 space, work 2 single crochets and a single crochet in that single crochet, which is part of the wattle stitch. Again, skipping the double crochet, 2 single crochets in the chain 1 space and 1 in the single crochet, 2 in that chain 1 space and 1 in the single crochet. So go ahead and work that all the way across. After working that all the way across, add an additional single crochet in that turning chain, and now we are going to turn, and you should have the front side of the work facing you for this next row. Now for row number 5, we're going to work row 1 of the low front ridge. We're going to work this in the regular way. Row 2, we have special directions, so after you complete this, do not do the row 2 of the low front ridge in the usual manner, because I do have special instructions for that. Okay, to begin, we've chained 1. We're going to skip the first stitch, and we're going to work only in the front loop, and we're going to work a slip stitch in each stitch all the way across. Just again, in the front loop only, work a slip stitch. So go ahead and work that all the way to the end of the row. Now we're ready to start row 6, which is row 2 of the low front ridge, or LFR, and we're going to be working in the remaining loop of that single crochet row worked 2 rows ago, and we're going to work 1 stitch in the first 11 stitches. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. On the 12th stitch, we're going to work 2 single crochets in that loop, and that's going to be the repeat all the way across. You're going to just be adding in a stitch every time you get to the 12th stitch. So we just, again, single crochet in 11 stitches, and then on the 12th stitch of your count, you're going to work 2 single crochets. So go ahead and work that all the way across. At the end of this row, you should have a total of 573 stitches. After working that all the way across, you should have some remaining stitches. Go ahead and work single crochets in each of those and 2 in the last stitch. Okay, let's go ahead and turn. And you'll see the nice ridge that has formed there. It's going to frame what we do next very nicely. Now we're going to move on to the Celtic weave. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to skip the first 3. 1, 2, 3 stitches, and then in the next we're going to work a front post treble crochet, and in the next stitch we're going to work a front post treble crochet again. Now working in front of the last 2 stitches, we're going to work a front post treble in the second and in the third stitch that we skipped. And this is just because we're at the beginning of the row. We always skip that first stitch unless otherwise instructed. And then the next. Okay. So we're going to do this all the way across, and we're going to do it this way. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and we're going to front post treble around the next 2 stitches, working in front of these 2 stitches. We're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped. And you do notice that I'm working these in single crochet, which is very possible. I do have a video, if you look at the link below and in the video description, and it'll have another stitch video on the Celtic weave should you need additional stitch support for this stitch. It can be a bit challenging until you understand how it works, but once you understand how this one works, it really does go quite well. Okay, so skip the next 2 and front post treble in the next 2 stitches. And once again, working in front of those 2 stitches, front post treble, and the 2 stitches that were skipped. And so go ahead and work this all the way across the row. And let me also point out one other thing, is you may have a little bit of a ripple in the last row. Don't let that worry you, because as we work this Celtic weave, it's going to take that out. At the end of this row, we're going to work front post double crochets over the last 2 stitches, and then I'm going to work a double crochet worked in that last stitch as well. Okay, let's go ahead and turn. And now we are going to work row 8. This is again the Celtic weave with the back side facing. And I'm going to start this row a little bit differently than the way I do normally. Normally, and if you ended with, let me just say this, if you had a different number than me, and if you ended with a cross cable like this, that's fine. And work a double crochet in the last stitch or that turning chain. That would be an alternative way to end this row. And then if you ended it that way, go ahead and look at the video in the video description below on how to work the back row to the Celtic weave, or the row with the back side facing. But what I'm going to do, since I ended with only 2 stitches here, I'm going to go ahead and skip this double crochet and these 2 post stitches, and I'm just going to go ahead and work back post trebles in the next 2 stitches. And then working in front of these 2 stitches, I'm going to work as seen from the front side. I'm going to work back post treble crochets in these 2 stitches that I just skipped. They are crossing in front, but again, as I said, as seen from the front side, and this is what I mean by this. This is the front side, and so they would be crossing in front. Okay, so we're going to do this all the way across. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches. We're going to back post treble crochet in the next 2 stitches. And now working in front of these 2 stitches as seen from the front side, we're going to actually back post treble in these 2 stitches that we skipped. And this is what it looks like. You bring the hook around. And we're going to work this stitch first, and then we complete that back post treble crochet, and the next one is right here. Again, make sure that you're working all of this on the back side, not trying to work it through, the stitch in any way. So when you turn to look at the front side, you can see that it has crossed in front, and that's what we want. I'll do this for you one more time. Skip the next 2 stitches, and then back post treble in the next 2 stitches. I'm working in front of those last 2 stitches as seen from the front side. We're going to work this stitch and then this stitch coming in. Again, back post treble crochets. Okay, this is what it looks like from the back side and from the front side. So go ahead and work that all the way across. Work this all the way across, and we're going to do 2 back post treble crochets in the last 2 stitches, and a double crochet in the chain 2 space. Chain 2 and turn. And for row number 9, we're going to do another row just like row 7. Skip the first 2, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, working in front of those last 2 stitches, front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped. And we're going to work that all the way across the row. And the last 2 stitches of the row, just work front post treble crochets, and we're going to follow that with a double crochet in that turning chain space. Okay, now we're going to turn, and this is going to be row number 10, and this is going to be the row that discontinues the Celtic weave. So we're going to chain 2, and we're going to work back post double crochets in each stitch across the row. Just work it straight across in the order that the stitches come in. Just like that. Okay, and then sew on the other side. It will look like this. Okay, now we only have 3 rows remaining to complete the outer circle of our tree skirt. And before we do that, we're going to do something pretty important. We're going to change our hook. We're going to go from the larger size hook to the one size smaller. Now, if you find that you have too much of a ripple, even after changing to one size hook, you may want to change to a size I or 2 sizes smaller, but I'm just going to change to 1 size smaller to work the last 3 rows. Okay, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to work the low front ridge just by working a slip stitch in the front loop only all the way across. And then when we come back for row number 2, we are going to work the single crochets in the remaining loops here. So go ahead and work those 2 rows. Now we're ready to work the final outer round. This is with the shell edging. Go ahead and chain 1, and we're going to single crochet in that very first stitch. We're going to skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to work 8 double crochets in that next stitch. And it's 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7, and 8. Let me just verify that I have the right amount. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's correct. Now we're going to skip 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to single crochet in that next space. We're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to slip stitch in that first chain, just like so, making a picot. Then we're going to single crochet in the next stitch. And this is going to be your repeat around, or at least across this row. So I'm going to do this with you one more time. Skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and in that next space we're going to work 8 double crochets. I'll go ahead and work these. After completing those 8 double crochets, we skip 3 stitches again. 1, 2, 3, single crochet in that next stitch, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, work a slip stitch in that first chain, and then single crochet in the next stitch. So go ahead and work this all the way across the row. After working that all the way across the row, we're going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and in that chain 1 space we're going to work our final single crochet. Go ahead and give it a chain and a nice tug, and with your scissors cut a generous strand so that we can hide this a little bit later, and our border is done. So this is where we just fastened off. Now we're just going to go across these row ends, still keeping the front side facing us, and we are going to join with a slip stitch to the chain, foundation chain here right at the beginning. Go ahead and give that a chain, and we are going to work single crochets in the row ends, but we're going to work them a little bit differently. Instead of working 2, 2, 2, and then 3 like we did on the outer portion, we're going to be trying to make this section smaller. So we're going to work 2 single crochets in that first row end, and then 1 in the next row end, 2 single crochets in the next row end, and then 1 in the next row end. We're going to work that all the way across, 2, and then 1 single crochet in the next row end. So go ahead and work that across. After working that all the way across, we come to 1 more row end, and go ahead and work 2 single crochets in that row end. You should have a total of approximately 317 single crochets at the end of row 1. So now we're going to turn. After turning with the back side facing us, we're going to chain 2, and in the next stitch we're going to skip the first, and then the second stitch we're going to work a wattle stitch. So chain, single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet in that space. We're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then work another one. Single crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. Now for the second, or after working that second, we're going to skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then we work a single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Then we skip 2, 1, 2. Then we work a single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, those wattle stitches. And then after that, we're going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and then work that next wattle stitch, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So we are effectually working some more decreases as we go along. So go ahead and work that all the way around, or actually across the row. After working this all the way across, on the last repeat, skip only 2, work a single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then we're going to work a single crochet in that last stitch, just like so. Now for the next row, this will be row number 3, working on the inside. We're going to work chain 2, and we are going to work a wattle stitch in the chain 1 space all the way across. That would be the single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and again, just like we did on the outside portion of the cable, just working in that chain 1 space again, and go ahead and work that all the way across the row. This row ends by working that last wattle stitch in that chain 1 space of the previous wattle stitch, and work a single crochet in the chain 2 turning chain at the end of the row. Let's go ahead, and so you have 1, 2, 3 rows on the inside track. For row number 4, we're going to chain 1, we're going to skip the first stitch, and we're going to skip the double crochet, and we are returning back to our regular stitch count. So we are going to work 2 single crochets in that chain 1 space of the wattle stitch, and then 1 in that next single crochet. We're going to do that again in the next one, working in that chain 1 space, work 2 single crochets, and then 1 in the single crochet space. Okay, now we come to the third wattle stitch. We're going to work just 1 single crochet in that chain 1 space, and then 1 in that next single crochet. Okay, so I'm going to do that again. I'll do this repeat for you. We're not working in the double crochet, only in the chain 1 space. We're going to work 2 single crochets, and then 1 in that next single crochet. I'm going to do that again. 2 single crochets in that chain 1 space, and then 1 in the single crochet. And then the third wattle stitch, we're going to do 1 single crochet in the chain 1 space, and then 1 in the single crochet. So effectively, over 3, each set of 3 wattle stitches, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 single crochets. So for every 3 sets of wattle stitches, you're going to have to be crocheting 8 single crochets. So go ahead and work that all the way across. So we're going to work that repeat all the way across till we get to the last wattle stitch, and go ahead and work 2 single crochets in the chain 1 space, and 1 in the single crochet, and work 1 in that chain 2 space. Now we're ready to turn. Now for row number 5, we're going to work row 1 of the low front ridge. And we're going to start with a chain 1, skip the first stitch, and as we've done in the past, just working in that front loop only. We're going to work slip stitches all the way across the row. So go ahead and do that all the way across, and I'll show you what to do after that. After working that all the way across the row, we're going to chain 1, turn, and now we're going to work row 2 of the low front ridge, and again worked in the remaining loop. And we're going to just single crochet, one single crochet in each stitch around. We're not adding increases or anything for this round, so just go ahead and work those single crochets. Now for row number 7, with the front side facing again, we're going to do a Celtic weave row. We're going to chain 2. We're going to skip the first 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then work front post treble crochets in the next 2 stitches. And working in front of those last 2 stitches, we're going to work front post trebles in the last 2 stitches we skipped. Again, we're not working in that last or the very first stitch of the row. There we go. Okay, now we're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Working in front of the last 2 stitches just worked, we're going to front post treble in those 2 stitches. Let's try that one again. We're going to front post treble in those 2 stitches that we skipped. Now for the next, we're going to do something slightly different. We're going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3 stitches, and then we're going to front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Working in front of these last 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the last 2 stitches here. We're going to skip the working in this stitch altogether. So the second and third stitches that were skipped, we're going to go ahead and front post treble in those. And then again, the next, we're just going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then front post treble in the next 2 stitches. And then working in front of those last 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble again in those 2 stitches that we skipped. So then we're going to skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then we front post treble in the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and whenever you skip 3, you're going to always not work in this stitch, but then work in the second and the third stitch that was skipped. So just to be clear, as we're working the Celtic weave across, and again with the front side facing, we're going to skip just the usual 2 stitches and then do the 2 front post trebles, and then working in front, do the front post treble crochets in front with the 2 stitches that we skipped, and then we're going to skip 3 stitches. And when we skip 1, 2, 3 stitches, we work the 2 front post trebles, but then we're going to work the front post trebles in the 2 stitches that were skipped. So again, we skip 2 stitches to start the next 4 stitch crossing, and then we skip 3 stitches, 2, then 3, 2, then 3. So go ahead and do that all the way across, and thereby creating some decreases within this row. So we're going to repeat that all the way across until you get to the last 5 stitches, and then we just again skip 2, front post treble crochet in the next 2 stitches, and again working in front of those last 2 stitches, front post treble crochet in the 2 stitches that were skipped. And then we're going to work a double crochet in that last stitch, just like that. Now I've gone ahead and turned. We're going to work another row of the Celtic weave. We're going to chain 2, and this is with the back side facing. I'm going to start this row a little differently than I did the last Celtic weave section. We're going to start by working back post treble crochets in the first 2 stitches. After those first 2 treble crochets, we're going to skip the next 2, and then we work a back post treble crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then working in front of the last 2 stitches as seen from the front side, we're going to come around just like we did in the previous section and work those back post treble crochets around these 2 stitches just like that. And I will turn this around so that you see the front side facing, so that it has crossed. Let me try that again. There we go. So it has crossed in the front just like that. And so we're going to go ahead and work that all the way across. When you get to the last 2 stitches, just work back post treble crochets around the last 2 stitches. Okay, I'm going to work the last 3 stitches. We're going to work the last 2 post stitches with back post treble crochets, and like I said, we're not having to cross anything before we crochet these 2 stitches, and then we're going to end with a double crochet in that chain 3 or chain 2 rather turning space. Okay, this is what you should have after working those 2 rows of the Celtic weave. For row this would be, let's see, row number 9, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to just work another row of the Celtic weave. Just work this just straight across, skip 2, again treble crochet in those next 2 stitches. We're not going to be skipping any stitches or anything like that. Just like with the last row, we're just going to work the Celtic weaves just straight up, and we're working those treble crochets worked in front. And just go ahead and repeat that all the way across. Skip the next 2, front post treble, and the next 2 working in front of those stitches, front post treble in the 2 stitches that you skipped. After working that all the way across, we work a double crochet in that chain, turning chain space. Okay, now we're going to turn, and we're going to work the row to discontinue the Celtic weave with the chain 2. And starting in the next stitch, we're just going to work back post double crochets all the way across the row. After working the back post double crochet all the way across, work a half double crochet in the turning chain. Now we're going to turn, and with the front side facing, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to work rows 1 and 2 of the low front ridge starting in the second stitch here for row 1. That's where we work a slip stitch worked only in the front loop all the way across the row. And then when we come back for row number 2, we're going to work a single crochet in each stitch across the row. Don't skip any of those stitches. So work 1 stitch, 1 single crochet coming back for the second row of the low front ridge. Go ahead and work both of those rows. Now we're ready to go to row 13, and we're going to return to the wattle stitch. I'm going to chain 2, and we're going to skip the first stitch. In the next stitch, we're going to work single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then work another wattle stitch, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Now we're going to work a decrease by skipping 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then work another wattle stitch, and that's going to be your repeat. So we work a wattle stitch, skip 2, then work another wattle, go ahead and work another wattle stitch, and then we skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3. So go ahead and repeat that all the way across the row. We're going to work this all the way across, and we're going to single crochet in that turning chain just like that. Let's go ahead and turn, and for row number 14, we're going to chain 2, and we are going to work a wattle stitch in each chain 1 space all the way across, just like that, and we skip to the next chain 1 space and then work a wattle stitch. So go ahead and work a wattle stitch in each chain 1 space all the way across the row. Starting row number 15, we're going to chain 2, and working only in the chain 1 spaces, go ahead and work wattle stitches in the first 7 of the wattle stitches, or in the chain 1 space. So that will be 1, and this is the second one. So go ahead and work that until you have 7 wattle stitches. After having worked 7 of the wattle stitches, in the next wattle stitch, just work a single crochet, and then continue wattle stitches in the next 7 chain 1 spaces, and then in the 8th you will just make another single crochet, and thereby making a decrease for the next round. So go ahead and work that across the row. After working this across, the last repeat will only have 6 wattle stitches, and then work a single crochet in that chain 2 turning space. Now for row 16, we're going to chain 2. We're going to work a wattle stitch in each of those chain 1 spaces across. So as we work across in those wattle stitches, whenever we get to the single crochet, which is one of the decreases from the last row, we're just going to skip that and go to the next chain 1 space and just continue the wattle stitches, making sure that you skip the single crochets as you go across the row. At the end of row 16, work a single crochet in that turning chain. Now we're going to turn, and we're going to chain 2, and for row 17, we're going to work wattle stitches and 6 of the chain 1 spaces, and then we're going to single crochet in the one that follows that. So wattle stitch in 6 of the chain 1 spaces, and then in the 7th work a single crochet, and then for row 18, which is the row that's going to follow this one, it's simply a repeat of row 16, where we are going to work in wattle stitches the other direction in the chain 1 spaces only, skipping any single crochets that are standing alone as the decreases. So go ahead and finish rows 17 and 18. This is what the wattle stitch section should look like after completing row 18. You should have 48 wattle stitches across the row plus that single crochet at the end of the row. Okay, so now we're going to start row 19 with another chain 2, and I'm going to give you another assignment just like we did before. We're going to work wattle stitches in 5 of the wattle stitches, or the chain 1 spaces from the previous row. So we're going to work 5 wattle stitches, 1 2 3 4 5, and then in the next chain 1 space you're going to work a single crochet for a decrease. So that is going to be the repeat, 5 wattle stitches and then a single crochet all the way across, ending with a single crochet in the chain 2 space, and then followed by row 20, which is going to be a repeat of row 16, which is basically working wattle stitches all the way across, being sure to skip the single crochets that are standing alone as decreases. Okay, so go ahead and finish rows 19 and 20. This is how the wattle stitch section should look after completing through row number 20. You should have 40 wattle stitches across in this row. For row 21, we are just simply going to work wattle stitches all the way across the row, maintaining the same stitch count of 40 wattle stitches. For row 22, we're going to work wattle stitches in 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 of those chain 1 spaces, and then in the 5th one, work a single crochet. Row 23 is going to be another repeat of row 16, where we work a wattle stitch in each stitch and we skip the single crochet decreases. So go ahead and finish those 3 rows. For row 24, we're going to do another repeat of row 16, which is just working a chain 2 and then working only in the chain 1 spaces, working a wattle stitch in each of those chain 1 spaces all the way around. So go ahead and work that row. At the end of row 24, I've ended with a single crochet in that chain 2 turning space, and then we're going to turn and we're going to work the final inner circle row, and this is going to start with a chain 1, and we are going to work a single crochet in that first stitch, and we're going to skip the double crochet. We're going to work 2 single crochets in the chain 1 space and then 1 in the single crochet as we go across each of those wattle stitches. So 2 single crochets in that chain 1 space and then 1 in the single crochet. I'll do this one more time. 2 single crochets in the chain 1 space and 1 in the single crochet, and you can see we are skipping those double crochets as we go across on those wattle stitches. After having worked this all the way across, go ahead and work a single crochet in that turning chain. Now we're ready to begin these rows where this is actually the part where the buttons will be placed, and we're going to work a slip knot. Make that a little bit tighter. There we go. And we're going to pull it through the first stitch. This is actually the last stitch of that outer round, and go ahead and give that a chain, and then starting in the next space, go ahead and work a single crochet. Now the goal of this particular row is to work single crochets evenly across the ends of the rows. Okay, and the number, I will give you the number at the end of the row, but that is not so important as the fact that these are worked evenly. If you have too many stitches along the row, it's going to be unyielding. You don't want to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to work these single crochets evenly across these row ends. I'll just work these with you. Okay. And there's something a little bit special that you need to do when you get to the wattle stitch section. We're going to work 1 there. We're going to work 2 single crochets in the next row end, and then 1 in the next row end, so that we're working approximately 4 stitches over those rows with the wattle stitch. Now when we get to the part here, this is very important, where the large Saxon cable is, we are going to, we're going to work in this stitch, but we're going to skip where the half double crochets were crocheted, so that this is not too large as we work across in these stitches. So we're going to work single crochets opposite the post stitches here, again skipping the half double crochet, and then work single crochets along those next 3 stitches. We're going to do that across this section, skipping that half double. This will help close in this section just a little bit as needed. Okay, so we're going to skip that half double crochet, single crochet in each of those spaces opposite the post stitches, and we are of course working in the foundation chain as we do this. Okay, skip again that half double crochet, and then we work evenly across. Let's stop and take a look. Okay, we're going to continue by skipping the next half double crochet, and then work 1 stitch each of those next 3 post stitches, or opposite the post stitches rather. Okay, and now we return to just working evenly across the row ends. And since we're working in the wattle stitch section, I'm going to work 2 stitches there and then 1 in the next. But you know, you can really work these however you like. Again, the key is that this looks nice and even as you go across. We don't want any bulging sections or to be extremely wavy or anything like that. It needs to be as even as we can get it. Okay, so I'm going to continue. I'll just go ahead and continue this row with you. And this is a large space, so I'm going to put 2 stitches in that space. And 2 in this one as well for those row ends, because those were rather large rows using those treble crochets. Okay, now I am working across, I'm getting near the wattle stitch section. Okay, so for the wattle stitch section, I'm going to work 1 single crochet in that row end, and then 2 in the next, 1 in the next row end, and 2 in the next, 1, and then 2, 1, and then 2, and we're almost at the end of the row. 1, and then 2, 1, and then we have 2. I'm going to put 1 there, and then put 1 in that first stitch of that last row that was on the inner circle. Okay, so I'm looking at this. This looks pretty good. And give it a good look. My stitch count is 66 single crochets across the row ends after finishing 1 row. Now if you have a couple of extra stitches or a few, or 1 or 2 fewer stitches, that's probably fine as long as you like the way this is going to look, because essentially this is where the buttons are going to be sewn. Okay, so we're going to chain 1 and turn, and the next 4 rows are all the same. And that is simply working a single crochet in each stitch across, and then at the end of the row we will turn and chain 1 to begin the next row. Go ahead and fasten off at the end of row 5. For the opposite side of the tree skirt, we're going to start with the front side facing, but towards the inner circle, and we are going to go ahead and work those 66 single crochets across this side, and only work rows 1 and 2, and I will show you row number 3 where we begin the buttonhole openings. Now we're ready to work row 3, which is going to form our buttonholes. We're going to chain 1. We're going to single crochet in the first 2 stitches. After that, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to single crochet 1 single crochet in each of the next 16 stitches. After finishing those 16 single crochets, we're going to make another buttonhole. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then single crochet in each of the next 16 stitches again. After completing those 16 single crochets, we're going to make another buttonhole by chaining 3, 1, 2, 3, skipping 3 again, 1, 2, 3, and then we are going to once again single crochet in each of the next 16 stitches. After working those 16 stitches, we're going to chain 3 again, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to single crochet in the remaining stitches of the row. There should just be a few there. 1, 2, 3. I got 4. If you get fewer than that, that's fine. At least there should be 2 there at the very end. Now we're going to turn. For row number 4, I've gone ahead and turned my work. I'm going to chain 1, and we are going to single crochet in each stitch until we get to that first buttonhole, which is the 3 chains. Go ahead and work 3 single crochets in that chain 3 space. And you've completed your first buttonhole. Now we're just going to single crochet 1 stitch in each of the next 16 stitches, and until we get to the next buttonhole. Now we're at that next buttonhole. We just, again, 3 single crochets worked in that chain 3 space, and then continue on. So go ahead and complete this row. For the last row, or row number 5, we're going to chain 1 and just work 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way across. And I'm just going to give you a nice look at this buttonhole. Let me finish. There we go. Just wanted to show you how nicely that should look. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish this row, and then I'm going to fasten off, and then I'm going to sew my buttons onto the other side, just the opposite of where they will fall, so that they fit nicely into where these buttonholes are on the other side. So I'll go ahead and sew the buttons on once you finish this section. There is one more very important thing that we need to do to finish this Christmas tree skirt, and that is to hide all of these loose strands. And I like to do this at the end of all my tutorials, even though most of you probably know how to do this already. I like to try to hide these on the back side of the work so that you don't have to worry about these showing should they ever pull out. And so you can see by leaving a nice long strand, it makes it very easy and convenient to just run the needle underneath these stitches and hide them. Now, not all the strands are going to be as easy to hide as this one, but as long as you're hiding them underneath the stitches on the back side, you should be fine. And I've gone ahead and pulled back on this a little bit, and I'm going to trim the yarn close but not too close to my stitches, as we don't want to harm them in any way. Okay, so let me go ahead and I'll show you what I have.
Well, I hope you enjoyed making this tree skirt with me today. If you did, please let me know. I would love to hear from you. And if you have any other suggestions as to what you'd like to see, please let me know in the comments below. God bless. Bye-bye.